In this video, we're going to be taking a look at creating this little rainbow cloud design. Now, when I look at designs, I kind of break them down into their most basic shape. And this rainbow design with the clouds is nothing but a bunch of circles. And one of the things that I have found helpful, I actually went to school for architecture. So when I look at a design, I kind of am trained because of my architectural background to just break down the design into its most basic geometric shapes, which usually are just circles, straight lines, ovals, rectangles, triangles, things like that. And so when I look at a design, I don't actually see the design. I just see those basic geometric shapes. And one thing when I was younger, I actually was always interested in drawing. Now, I can't draw for a lick, but one of the things, if you pick up a drawing book, like if you look for drawing books on drawing cartoons and things like that, um, when you learn to draw, you start out with very basic shapes, ovals, circles, things like that. And from those basic shapes, you actually develop a photorealistic drawing or whatever you might be doing. Or like if you get a book on drawing cartoons, you'll see that the cartoon figure just starts out as a real basic oval shape or circles, rectangles, things like that. And then you kind of mold that into the finished product. And I think that translates quite well to rhinestone designs. And so in this video, we'll kind of see how that all plays out because this is a really, really simple design to do. And there's some great features here inside EasyStone that's going to make the process even easier. And the thing of it is these tools exist. You probably don't even know that they exist. And even if you do know they exist, you're not quite sure how to actually implement them in a particular design. So the more examples that we can give you and video demonstrations where we can show you how to apply these tools, the easier it's going to be for you to kind of translate that into the designs that you're working on. So let me show you how this works. So what we're going to do is draw out a perfect circle here in CorelDRAW. So we grab our ellipse tool here. If you hold your control key down, that will constrain to a perfect circle. We're going to make our circle 6 inches wide for this design. And then here's the first little specialized tool. If we hold down the shift key and click on EG, we get this add guides and split line menu. And what we're going to do is add split lines, center horizontal, process. All right. And to me, that's easier than grabbing your 2-point line tool, making sure you've snapped to a certain point, and so on and so forth. It's just a little bit easier to do. So I built that tool here into EasyStone. Now what we're going to do is grab our circle, come to the Stone Fill tab. We want to make sure that our circle size is set to, you can see here's the circle size, set to the size stone that we want to use. And in this case, we're going to do SS10 stones for the rainbow. So we want to make sure that's set. If it's not set, just right click on the appropriate circle size. See, if I right click on SS6, you can see the stone size has changed. So I'll go back to SS10, right click, and now you can see that stone size has been updated. So here in the Stone Fill tab, we're just going to click on Island Fill. And the next specialized tool that we have available, we're going to select the entire design, is over here on the Editing tab. And everywhere the circles intersect our horizontal line, we're going to click Intersections. Everywhere the intersection happens, what we want to do is we want to create a breakpoint. So that's what intersections does. So now if we select the circles on the bottom half of our design and hit the delete key on our keyboard, you can see that those circles are now gone. All right, so all we did was just cut our circle right in half to the base of our rainbow. All right, so now the next thing we want to do, the original design here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors is what we used in the original rainbow. Each color has 2 rows of stones, so we know we need 12 circles here. So if I select the entire design and look at the bottom of my CorelDRAW workspace, you can see I have 16 circles. So we know we need to delete 4. So we're going to go ahead and select 1, 2, 3, 4. And all I'm doing is selecting it and then hitting my delete key. So now if we select those, you should see we now have 12 paths which we can apply stones to. So now that's taken care of. Now we need to create a little cloud shape, and the little clouds is nothing but circles. So we're going to draw out a circle, The size of the circle does not matter. And we're just going to place one down here. We're going to place one. Tell you what, let's switch to our pick tool here, and we'll move this over here. Maybe we'll resize this one and put it here, and then move this one up here, and we'll resize it too. Maybe I'll go back and make this one bigger. You just kind of have to play with how you want it to look. Maybe this one I won't have quite so big, whatever you want to do. And get these circles arranged. I'm going to make this one bigger. Bigger yet. However you want your little cloud to look. Then once you're happy with your circle arrangement, we're just going to select all of them and we're going to merge those together. So now we have our little cloud shape. So now once we have our little cloud shape, then we can resize the cloud to best fit our rainbow. All right, and we could rotate our cloud if we wanted to. Whatever you want to do, whatever modifications you want to do. So I'm going to do it like this, and then I'm going to put this up here, and I'm just going to rotate this a little bit too. Something about like so. Okay, so there is our rainbow. Now what I'm going to do here is, I'm just trying to think about this for a moment. What's going to be our best bet here? All right, what we want to do now is we need to trim all these lines that extend into the clouds. We need to trim those back, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to select our two clouds, and we're going to come over here to our editing tab, and we're going to mark those two clouds. And then what we're going to do is select all of our lines. Now this is your next tip. We're in our pick tool. If we hold down the Alt key and click and drag, because that blue line intersects those lines, it's going to pick all them up, and we're going to click Trim Objects. Now, that kind of works like intersection works, where we're going to come in here and we're going to select these lines and hit the Delete key, and we're going to select these lines and hit the Delete key. So you can see kind of like the way intersections work, where it actually trims those right back. All right, so now let's go ahead and apply some stones. So we're going to select our first two paths, right click on our light cyan quick change tool down here, go to the stone tab and add some stones. And then we're going to do orange for our next line. Next two lines, so right click on orange, add stones. Our next two lines, citrine. Our next two lines, emerald. Our next two lines, we went with cobalt blue. And for the last two, we went with amethyst. Now amethyst is not one of the quick pick colors. So we'll come to the color selector here. We'll choose amethyst and then add stones. Okay, so now you can see we have all of our stones applied to the rainbow. So now all we have to do is take, these two cloud shapes are identical. So we only need to work with one. And then once we have one done, then we can go back in and take care of the other one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with this one right here. Just make a copy of it down here. We're going to go over to the Stone Fill tab and click Island Fill. And you can see it just offsets, offsets, offsets. And then what we're going to do is select the whole thing, come over to the Stone tab, and we're going to choose Add Stones. But we're going to change our stone color to crystal first, and then we're going to hit the Alt key, Add Stones. Now I'm expecting an error message here. So I want to warn you, you may get this error message, and I'll explain what it's telling you. So let's go ahead and choose Alt Add Stones. Yeah, in that case, it actually didn't give me an error message, which surprises me. I expected it to give me some type of error message, and basically what it's telling you, sometimes when you do those offsets, sometimes it gets confused because the artwork, the paths that it's generated when you create those offsets, they're not created properly, and sometimes it'll give you an error message. But if it does do that, just click on Add Stones without choosing the Alt option, and then it will go ahead and apply stones. Now, why did we choose Alt? Well, the reason that we chose Alt is you see here at the point, there's a stone at the point of every single point, and that's really how we want the fill to be generated. If we didn't do that, then there would be no stone necessarily at every single point in the design. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. So now you can see we have some overlapping stones and so forth that we need to fix. So let me show you the best way to fix those. So we'll hit delete stone paths, and now you can see kind of better what the fill looks like. And then what we're going to do is we're going to check our spacing. So we took care of any overlapping duplicated stones. And now what we need to do is just kind of fit in the fill. Now, the best way for me, the way I like to do it, is in order to fill this space, all SS10 stones, and have a nice tight fill, that can be complicated. So if we open up the idea of using more than one stone size, then filling in those gaps becomes very, very simple. Let me show you how we're going to do it. So right here, we could, here I probably would go ahead and use an SS10 and then select these stones and then use our respace tool. See, and it's telling me to please mark only one shape. Just close the macro and reopen it when it does that. So we'll select these stones. We're going to fix that, but that's the way to take care of it. If you do get that error message, just close it and reopen it. So we'll go ahead and choose respace. And you can see now all those stones are nicely spaced apart. Now here, I'm actually just going to change this to an SS6 just to show you some different options that we have. And then we can pull in an SS10 there. Here, same thing. I'll drop it to a 6 because it's just quicker and easier to handle that. And just, put in a couple SS6s here and there. Okay, so here to fill this gap, what I think I'll do is I'll just drop that down to a 6. Then I think I'll move this to a 10. And I'll go ahead and stick a 10 in there too. But you can see those overlaps. So to get rid of the overlaps, just select these stones and do that respace function. And it'll just smooth it all out. Now there's no overlaps. So we'll slap a stone in there. So it's it kind of goes both ways. Sometimes we'll use 6s, sometimes we'll use 10s, and then we can space all this out so it's nice and even with that respace tool. And it doesn't take long at all to get a nice solid fill pattern. And I've done this enough times where I know exactly what's going to work best here. So we have some overlapping stones and so on and so forth, but that's okay because we can use that respace tool. We'll just come in here and make those selections and hit respace, space it all out, and that takes care of it. Pretty quick, pretty easy. So we'll go ahead and duplicate a stone down here. And what do we want to do here? I think here for simplicity, we'll go ahead and drop in a 6. And here I think we'll go ahead and drop in 2 6s. Rather than move a bunch of stones. And here I think we'll go ahead and drop in a 6. And then we'll respace these stones so they're not overlapping and touching. Respace, delete. And you can see that took care of that problem. And I think we'll do the same thing here. Even out this spacing a little bit. Respace, delete. So you can see that actually took care of that too. And I'm going to drop that down to a 6. I'm going to drop this down to a 6 on either side so we can tuck in that little corner pretty close there. And so now we're going to go this direction. So we're going to go ahead and put in a 6 there too. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we'll select these stones going along this way. And we'll use that respace tool. That spaces everything out nice and even. And you can see we're almost to the point where we're going to have things all taken care of here. So let's go ahead and fix those. We'll respace. So that spaced all those out nice and even. So we'll delete stone paths. All right, I'm going to select these and respace those, going in that direction. And you know, it really just depends on how particular you want to get. How much time we spend on it. All right, so we'll go ahead and drop in a 6. And we'll drop in a 6. And I think this will have to be a 6 too. So now we'll just respace some of these around. And we should have a nice filled in cloud. So we'll hit respace there. That took care of that one. Take a look here, see what we got going on. I think this way. Maybe we'll try that. Take a step back, and there we go. That is a nice filled in cloud, and I think that's going to work out pretty good. So I'm going to make a copy of it because we need to copy it up here. And then I'm just going to move this cloud, and we're going to go right here and watch this. If we go right there, then you can see it just lands right where it needs to be. So I'm going to select everything, hit delete stone paths, and then I'm going to select everything, and we're going to do a check spacing. So now you can see that pretty much there's one little issue where this is touching right there, but otherwise everything looks pretty good. So probably what I would do is grab my lasso selection tool, or what they call a freehand pick tool here in CorelDRAW, and select my cloud. And I'm just going to use my arrow keys a little bit to nudge it down, nudge my cloud down so my rainbow isn't touching. Now, here's the interesting thing I think for you guys is we have this cloud. It's tilted at an angle where this cloud is horizontal. It's really easy to make this cloud the same angle. So let me show you how it's done, because this is something that you're going to do a lot of. So mastering and understanding what's happening here is pretty important. So we're going to select our cloud. We're going to go ahead and move it into position just like we did before. So we're going to go from center to center, but you see how the cloud does not line up. Okay, so what we need to do is click on one of your cloud circles, and you see the rotation handle and this little dot. Okay, this little dot tells us where it's going to rotate from, and we want that dot to pick it up and move it and rotate it from this corner. Okay, so now we've moved the rotation point at that same corner, and then this circle right here, we're going to drag it down to this point right here. So now you can see that that circle is at the same position as the cloud shape. Okay, so watch this little bit over a couple of times till you really understand how to do that, because you're going to do that quite frequently. And it's a really easy technique. Just remove the rotation center point and then grab a common area like we did with the center of that stone, and then you can rotate it right into position. Perfect. All right, so we'll go ahead and delete our cloud shape. And now I can take this cloud and position it right into position, like so. And we should have a similar situation that we had over here. So we're going to just select everything, check spacing. That gets rid of any overlaps. And you can see there's a couple little areas there. So like before, I would probably just come in here and grab my freehand pick tool and just nudge a little bit. There we go. Now none of our stones are going to touch. Let's go ahead and throw a weed box behind this. And how cool is that? We got a really nice looking little design. Of course, and then what I do is I go ahead and make a duplicate. Then I would right click to simulate stones. And then I would select the whole design and Shift MU. That's going to add my watermark and the dimensions of my design to my design. And then to do my color separations, I would do it this way. So we're going to select our design, click on our miscellaneous tab and choose export vector file. I would put the crystal stones on one template. I would put, let's see here, I would put light cyan on this template. I would put citrine on this template. I would put amethyst on this template. And then for template 2, let's see here. Let me think about this for a moment. Right, for template 2, I would do cobalt, emerald green, and orange. I think that's correct. And then we would choose combo to export a combination file that had all the color separations in one file. And then we could choose the file type that we want to export to. I'm just going to export directly to the CorelDRAW document. So export to CDR file, and we're going to choose export files. And you can see there's our color separations. Okay, so that is how we would go about doing our color separations. And so what I would do is when you go to cut your template, you would create a little plug so that you would cover up all the holes for the red, the citrine, and amethyst. You'd brush in your 2 crystal stone sizes. Then you would use a different plug that would cover up citrine and light cyan and brush in amethyst. Then you would cover up the light cyan stones, put in your citrine, and then finally the only holes left for template 1 are your light cyan, and then you'd come back in here and basically do a similar thing. You would first create a plug that would cover up your green and cobalt and brush in orange. Then you would reposition, cover up cobalt, brush in your green, and then finally brush in your cobalt stones. And we do have a video on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the description here that shows you how to use that plug technique if you've never seen it. All right, so anyhow, that gives you a good idea of how we are able to create this rainbow design and do it, pretty quick, pretty easy. Yeah, we had to fiddle a little bit with the fill of our cloud, but at the end of the day, we have a really great looking design. And it really didn't take that much effort when you got these specialized tools here in EasyStone to accomplish the design. So thanks for watching.